The reason so many freelancers end up feeling overwhelmed is not because they lack talent or effort. It's because when we go freelance, we're not given a very clear path to success. The second we even start to think about it, we see conflicting advice, we're shown a load of tools and software that are designed to supposedly help us, and that's not even mentioning the sickening six-figure side hustle bros who like to tell everyone how easy freelancing is. Side note, it really isn't. It can all leave us feeling very overwhelmed, very underachieving, and in the worst case scenarios, questioning whether life as a freelancer is even for us. I went freelance in 2017, so I know this feeling very well, and it's why I've pulled together these 10 steps which I wish someone had given me all those years ago. They're super simple, they're really adaptive, and they are proven. And if you stick around to the end, we even give you a mindset tip on how to navigate the darkest days of freelancing. So let's get into it. And without doubt, the question I get asked the most is, do I need a website? And the answer is yes and no. So let's flip that and change it to, do I need an online presence? And the answer is absolutely yes. I would start somewhere like Canva and start playing around with color palettes, logo generators, fonts, all of that kind of stuff that will help you get a look and feel for how you want to be visible and presentable to potential clients online. Because a logo at the very least is essential for things like your LinkedIn profile looking nice and sharp, your email signatures, your paperwork and everything else in between. And if you do want to go whole hog with a website, then it's really great to have your logo in place anyway. Now, if you're a freelancer who has testimonials and case studies and lots of experience that you can bring to life as well, I would absolutely encourage you to set up a portfolio. So again, you can do that in things like Canva, but just so you've got something to reference to and that you've integrated your new logo and look and feel into, so that when people want to see examples of your work, you've got it right there to hand. So the next step is one of my favourite steps because it's where the fun of freelancing starts to happen, and that's testing where you work best. So even as a freelancer, I tested a few different places to work from. So I worked from home predominantly for 5 years back to back. I then tried cafes throughout that time, and I eventually ended up in a co-working space before I got interim HQ. And I would absolutely advocate doing that for any freelancer, because what it did for me was not only give me a routine, so leaving the house directly to go to work and do work, so it helped with productivity, but it also helped with that work-life separation. So when I worked from home, I didn't have a home office. I had a desk in my living room. So at the end of the day, I closed my laptop lid and I was in the room that I was supposed to have my downtime in as well. And I hadn't quite realised how much of a detrimental impact that was having on my mental health and my productivity towards the end of those 5 years until I actively went and co-worked. So if I was you starting again, make sure that you trial routines and try different places to work from. Work out where you get the best productivity from yourself, where it sets you up best for the day, because that will be the ticket to the best work-life balance you can get as a freelancer. Step number 3 is to get your finances sorted from day one. If I was you, I would 100% get a business bank account from day one as well. Trying to separate your own personal finances from work finances is just a pain that nobody needs. And there's a ton of options out there for business banking. Again, we're not financial advisors, but I've heard really good reports of Tide and Chase Bank. There's also the big classic providers. There's so many options now that there's really no excuse for you to have to see that as a barrier to entry to freelancing. And what's quite nice about some of the new business banks is I believe some of them come with an actual invoicing platform inside of them too, which is really, really handy for sole traders. But equally, if your bank doesn't have any form of invoicing system, I would also very much advocate getting a separate one. Now, I used QuickBooks as a freelancer and it was absolutely fine and fabulous, and I still use it today. But just to hammer home the point, get an invoicing system super quick, because it will help with taxes, it will help with managing your finances, and it keeps in tune with making things simple for you. In addition to the accounting software, I would also really advocate that you get an accountant or at least a bookkeeper. I tried to do mine myself from day one and made a complete hash of it. So if I was you, even if you book, say, like a power hour with an accountant to give you an idea of how to set your company up, what you should be looking out for, should you register for VAT if you're in the UK, or, should you be a sole trader or a limited company? All of those questions you need to get answered ASAP, because the sooner you get them off your plate, the sooner you can focus on the fun stuff. The beauty of working from a co-working space helps you achieve the next step, which is every freelancer's biggest nightmare: networking. We all hate it. Everybody hates networking. It can feel like a real drag, but luckily there are loads of different options out there now that don't make it feel as cringe. I even went on one last week which involved lake dipping and yoga and meditation and breath work, which was insane and really good fun. There's a really quick way to remove any form of ego and barrier, is to jump in a cold lake together. So don't view networking as that classic old school walking into a room, no one knows anyone, who should I go up to, who should I chat to, because those old school networking days are gone. It's much easier now to get into all sorts of different groups, and there are tons that are local to people's areas, especially if you're in big cities. I live near Leeds in England. There's loads of options in the north, in London, whichever city you're in, there will be some form of option. And if that really feels too much for you at the beginning, then go online. There's tons of online networking events for freelancers, so make sure that you hunt them out. But you must, and I'm really sorry to say it, but you must network. You are your best and only marketing tool as a freelancer, so it really isn't a step that you can miss. And there's a side to networking that feels a lot more familiar, which leads us nicely into our next step, which is warming up your own network. Now, if you've been in agency or corporate life for a while, you would have built up a really nice network of individuals who you can start talking to plant the seed and let them know that you're going freelance. And even if you're not quite ready to go freelance, you can still chat to them to see what they think about the market. Is there any opportunity in their kind of businesses that they work in? Just get the sense of a feet and putting those feelers out as to whether freelance might be right for you. But the real key thing with warming up your own network is, because you have those connections already, you already have a reputation with these people. So if they do need freelancer services and they know that you're going freelance, you're probably more likely to get the job than, say, someone they don't know, because you already have those existing relationships. The next step is to have a batch of templates ready to go, so that when you're discussing contracts, when you're agreeing work, etc., you've got that basic level of paperwork that you can immediately pull on, so that you're not constantly rewriting and re-refreshing the same proposals, the same paperwork, etc. Because at the end of the day, this whole stepped process is designed to make your life as simple as possible, so you can spend less time adminning and more time selling and doing the work itself. So when it comes to paperwork, we'd suggest to have, as a very basic level, a statement of work, which has your logo and your business details on it, and it helps capture projects and the details of projects and what's expected within that project, from delivery milestones through to payment terms, etc., all in a really neat one-pager that's signed by both parties, so everybody knows where they stand from day one. In addition to your paperwork, also put things like your imagery and your logo files and anything else that you've designed to help bring your proposals to life. And even a proposal template can be really, really handy, so that, again, when you're going for work and you're pitching for work, you're not redoing templates all the time, because that is a very timely and a very costly process. So following on from being mega organised, my next bit of advice would be to get some form of CRM system going from day one. Now, I use Monday. I have used them since the dawn of time for mine, but you don't have to use a big old CRM. In the very, very early days, when I was managing my projects, I just used a Google Sheet, and that was absolutely fine. But I've worked in agencies where they don't have a good CRM, and trust me when I say, it is a flipping nightmare to try and find client details, who's paid what, when they've paid it, what contracts were agreed, what's their email address, who's the person I should be speaking to. All of that stuff if you don't have some form of CRM system set up, it can be a real pain. Now, once you've bagged those first few clients, we can move on to the next step of organising your time. This is the key step. Don't just do it a day at a time. Have your entire month visible to you every single month, and plot in the number of hours that you want to work on each day in that month. If you're on holiday or you're away, you can up or downscale those hours on those days to show you exactly what you've got for that month. Because when projects start to drop in, you can then plot them into specific days. You can set up really basic sum formulas that help see the hours go up and down as you plan in more contracts and more projects. And it just gives you a really crystal clear, quick snapshot of what capacity you've got one month and what you haven't. And the good thing about this is not only does it help you from a productivity and an organisational perspective, but it can also help you forecast when you're heading towards quieter months. So if you can see that you've got a few extra days laying around, then you have a couple of choices. You can either try and fill them with work, or you can spend them doing marketing and personal branding and doing more of that, or just take them off. That's the beauty of freelance. We can do with our time what we like. And having that monthly visibility leads really well into our next step, and is one that so many freelancers miss because it's not very fun. And that step is to continually and consistently outreach yourself alongside doing paid for projects. And I know what you're already thinking is that sounds like a massive pain in the neck. And it is, simply is. But what you absolutely do not want to do is get to the end of a project and wait to try and drum up some new business, because you'll always end up with a gap between projects if you do it that way. And that's when it starts to get a bit scary, because you get to the end of a project and there's nothing in the pipeline. So make sure you plan your outreach and you do it consistently alongside your regular working projects. Now, step 10 is the easiest and the simplest, but yet the most overlooked by so many freelancers. Be a really great communicator. Just do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Be really good at the basics and you will stand out as being great. And it also helps with when things don't go to plan. Things don't go right all the time. We work in or most of us work in marketing. It's a flipping nightmare a lot of the time. But if you've got really good existing relationships, you can navigate those trickier times a lot more easily than if you've broken trust by not replying to emails, not hitting deadlines, and not doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. We said at the top of the video that we'd have a sneaky mindset tip to help you be extra successful as a freelancer. And that is to be really careful with the content that you consume around freelancing and the negative side of that content. There's a lot of people out there who are saying the market's really hard, it's an awful time to go freelance, it's never been more difficult, the market's damaged. It's quite simply not true. Freelancing is booming, which just makes it more competitive, and the market's evolving. It's really hard to be a freelancer, and it's always been really hard. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a side hustle. It's not a short-term fix. It's a long-term career choice, and it's built on foundations of skill and experience. So just be wary that actually it's a great time to go freelance, as long as you have some fantastic experience, you do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and you bring some positive energy. So whether you're a new freelancer or a veteran, or you're just looking for a bit of a nudge in the right direction, then follow along and subscribe, because we're going to be dropping new content weekly. No frills, no fluff, no waffle, and absolutely no hustle. Just calm, collected tips on how to be a very successful freelancer.